What is up, Warshippers? SeaRaptor here, bringing you a first look at Tier 10 Japanese premium cruiser, Azuma. Now, this ship, I think, surprised a lot of people when they announced her on the dev blog last week. Well, a couple weeks ago now. She looks to be based on the Japanese design B-65, which was a series of battle cruisers that the Japanese never really got off the ground. I'm not even sure they ever laid one down, but they were certainly in the design phase. She's obviously meant to be a contemporary of Kronshtadt, Stalingrad, Alaska, these high-end battlecruisers that have been coming out at Tier 9 and 10 for the last 6 or 8 months now. And so we're going to be spending most of our time comparing her to those guys because comparing her to a regular cruiser is kind of silly. So starting off, we have 71,800 hit points. That's very, very comparable to Kronstadt and Stalingrad. She has the same, let me get rid of the torpedo bulges. She has the same 180 millimeter, essentially 180 millimeter belt that you would find on Stalingrad, but her bow armor is only 25 millimeters. That's going to leave her a little more vulnerable to bow-on penetrations and citadels that her Russian cousins shrug off a little bit with these reinforced strakes they have in her on the bow. The guns are approximately the same caliber as you find on Stalingrad, Kronstadt, and Alaska. Of course, the Americans and Russians all went for 12-inch, 305mm guns. The Japanese here going for 310mm guns, so a small difference there. You can see there an 18-second reload already puts her ahead of the game. That's faster than Alaska and the other guys. And the HEs have, the HE shell damage there has the best HE damage of all these kinds of ships, as you would expect, again, befitting the national flavor of Japan. Again, same way, the AP damage lags just a little bit. It's not awful, but it is less than Alaska's 8,900 there. She does have the best dispersion of this battlecruiser type, so she ought to be more accurate in theory. But look at the muzzle velocity, the shell velocity there, 836 meters per second each. That sounds a little on the low side. That's because it is. If you think about it, if you look through the stats, Alaska is 762 and 808 for her shell velocities. And then there's a big jump up to Kronstadt for 900 and 920, and Stalingrad is 950. But by comparison, if we're talking about Japanese cruisers, Zhao's muzzle velocities are 920 meters per second. So 836 is going to be on the low side. It's going to be really interesting to see how the ballistics of these guns perform once we can actually take her out into battle. She is the only Japanese cruiser in the game without torpedoes. There are no torpedo launchers on this ship. Defense-wise, she is very solid. I'd say the nearest analog she has is Stalingrad itself. She has, of course, the now ubiquitous 100mm turrets along the side to go along with the Japanese knockoff of the 40mm Bofors and some of their 25mm triples that are so common throughout the Japanese Navy. Essentially, her AA DPS is almost identical to that of Stalingrad. Stalingrad's outer ring is larger, but side by side, the AA DPS numbers are about the same. Handling and speed, pretty comparable to the others of the tier. I mean, nothing outlandish here, nothing that really makes her stand out. Concealment, though, is impressive. She can drop her detectability. This is a max stealth build right now, 11.6. That puts her below even some regular heavy cruisers of this tier, like Henri IV and Hindenburg, which cap out in the low 12 and change. 12.5, I think, is Henri, and 12.3, I think, is Hindenburg, something like that. So this ship has a lot of stealth for a ship of this type. It will allow her to do some really interesting things once we have her on the board and can start putting her through her paces. The consumables are very different from what you're used to finding on Stalingrad. Of course, she has damage control party, but unlike Stalingrad, she does have access to hydroacoustic search if she wants it. She can take defensive fire, but she gets a choice here. She does not have radar. She does have spotter plane. She does not get catapult fighter, only spotting aircraft, and of course, a heal. So Azuma, you look at this ship and you think, okay, she's the Japanese answer to Stalingrad and Alaska, and she kind of is. But the shell velocity, to me, that's going to be a deal breaker. Like this is the first Japanese all-gun cruiser in the game, the first one, and it's going to be made or broken on the ballistics of those guns. They have to perform. There's no way they're going to perform as well as the Russians do, but they have to have penetration at range, and they have to hit hard when we actually get them onto the board and see what they can do. All right, well, guys, that's a quick look at Azuma, and I've got some other videos coming out, the other ships that we're able to do these little previews for over PTS 712 for this weekend. Thanks a lot, and we will see you next time.